Hello and welcome back to A Slightly Twisted Female. I am your host, Brittany Rue. I am so sorry, guys, that took so long. I know I'm pretty far off when I said I was going to go live. I don't have a good excuse. I was just fucking off playing Clash Royale, which my boys put me on to, and I was doing it to be nice for them. Fast forward like 2 weeks later, and I'm like a level 15, and I am like killing it with my clan. It's this little video game on my phone, and I'm like abnormally good at it. Probably because I've dumped like a whole lot of time into playing it. So anyway, let's get started. I missed you guys. I'm back. Today we are going to talk about the Port Townsend YMCA hoopla regarding a trans-identified male once again in the women's changing room. And of course, a citizen turned activist because of having to deal with these people. And what they don't understand is how every time a person is silenced, a person has to deal with this in a very sort of uncomfortable, sort of confrontational way. They are creating activists. I don't think that the woman who at the center of this story, Julie Jaman, or I'm going to just call it Jaman. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it. It's Jaman or Jaman. I don't think she went to the YMCA that day intending to come out a full-on activist, but that's what happened. She was put into a situation she did not have any foresight of, was horrified at the treatment, and boom. Within a moment's time, she was aggressively introduced to this fight that you and I and this community has been a part of now for quite some time. That's how quickly it happens. No one needed to sit her down and explain to her, well, this is what's going on, and here's our position. She understood immediately. She didn't need anyone to explain the assignment. She knew what it was. Within the next 2 weeks, she is already doing TV interviews, she's hosting rallies, she's going on every blog and podcast talking about it. She went to the CEO, the YMCA, when she received an unsatisfactory response. Then she hosted a press conference, which of course, as we know, brought with it a whole bunch of TPAs, trans privilege activists, who came, heckled her, and showed their true colors. Again, sparing nobody, attacking an 80-year-old woman. But just be kind, right? All right, so to rewind, let's take a look at what is going on in Port Townsend, Washington, one of the most liberal states that has enacted a lot of these anti-discrimination laws and policies and regulations. So on, what was it? August. Oh God. Let's find out. All right. So this is her. This is an 80-year-old woman. She went to the YMCA to swim as she normally does, and after swimming, she went to go take a shower because anybody who uses the YMCA knows that they use about 18 times the legal limit of chlorine in the pool. And it's probably burning your eyes out. Her skin is probably on fire, so she went to go take a shower at the pool. While, as she describes, she was soaped up. And again, if you've ever been to the YMCA, they have these little stalls that don't have a door. Rather, they have a crappy little nylon curtain that hangs. But again, if you're in a private space amongst other women, it's really no big deal. If anyone's been to the old school YMCAs, they didn't even have individual stalls. It literally was a big open room with a bunch of drains in the floor and a faucet head at the top. And people literally used to stand around. I remember as a kid being like, can we shower at home, Mom? Because it would always be like, a bunch of older women again. And the beauty of getting older and the beauty of being a old woman, as they've said in this story like a million times, which is also a little cringe. But the beauty of being an old woman is you get to a point in life where you just don't give a about anything. And so I just remember there's always all these older ladies who would just be like butt ass naked, standing in the room taking a shower, and it was what it was. Now you have these individual stalls, but again, there's a little curtain. The curtain doesn't cover anything. Anybody who is particularly shy or, modest or whatever will sit there and fiddle with it the whole time. You're never going to get it completely covered up. You're just not going to, period. There's always going to be some little sliver of a corridor that's going to allow anybody from the outside who's looking to peer in. Of course, most of us are normal, functional adults, and we're not going to go and sit there and try to peer through the little cracks in the curtain to see who's inside showering and is soaped up. So, Miss Julie Jaman, again, 80 years old, at the YMCA, and good for her for staying active. That's badass. I really hope that if I live to be that old, I'm still swimming at the YMCA and doing whatever else. She said she was soaped up, highly vulnerable, thought she was in a safe space when she heard what sounded like a man's voice. Again, she clocked this man without even laying eyes on him. That's how sexually dimorphic of a species we are, and that's how wired we are to identify males and females. Don't you understand that every individual species is very capable and adept, even since birth, even from a very young age, to begin to recognize the males within their species and the females within their species? There are so many small identifiers that we're not even consciously processing, but we are processing them. So she recognized that there was a man in the locker room without even laying eyes on him. She clocked him before she saw him. So oh God, little cat says, I'm in Oregon and it's just terrible here. I can only imagine. Oregon is yet another liberal hellhole. So she came out, I guess, toweled up and peered over and saw there was a full-on man wearing a woman's bathing suit awkwardly, and just like Dylan Mulvaney tried to push onto everybody, let's just normalize the bulge. Let's normalize women having bulges. Some women have bulges and don't look at their bulge. But the problem is that everybody does, because it's right there in your face, very awkward and not meant to be accommodated by a women's swimsuit, which is built for, surprise, a woman's body. So she, noticing that there were little girls in the vicinity unchanging and taking their bathing suits off within the view of this man, immediately, like any other sober, sane human being, and again, any other woman, and I've said it before, I'll probably say it again even after this. I know that some people might take offense to this, and I don't think you should, because I think it's a beautiful thing. I do believe that every woman, to some extent, or at least the vast majority of women, have some sort of maternal instinct. I know that that's controversial, but it doesn't mean that you're necessarily a mother. But I do believe that women's maternal sense manifests in many different ways. And I think that even, women who don't have children, whether it's this sense of just noticing that there's children around, and I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but I know I certainly do, and I know that I did it even before I had children, even as a teenager. If I would see little kids, I would naturally just scan around and just look to see who is around. If you see little kids who are playing. And as a woman, and I can't speak for men because I'm not a man, but I know, at least for me, and it seems like a majority of the women that I've met, will notice if there's a man that's just weird or lurking around or hanging out. And you'll just watch him. You'll just keep your eye on him. especially knowing if there's vulnerable children around and maybe the mom's like not paying attention, or maybe they're walked here from their house. And I really believe that most of us have a sense that drives us to want to protect children. I really believe that our children are all of our children, whether we give birth to them or not. And I think that that comes from years and years and generations of collectively raising children, which has been the model for many hundreds and thousands of years. Children were collectively raised and taken care of. So this woman, rather than walking away and being like, well, I'm not their parent, and just going on her business, felt that that was grossly inappropriate, that there is a man in a space where children, female children, little girls, 5-year-old girls, and not the type of girl that Dylan Mulvaney seems to think he is, but actual little girls, you know, the ones who are vulnerable, who up until about 5 minutes ago, we collectively as a society recognize that they are at an unique risk, and we used to take steps to protect them, and we're not anymore. She confronted the man and she said, excuse me, very bluntly, and good for her, do you have a penis? Or were you born? I think she said, were you born with a penis? And he said, that's none of your business. Except that it is her business when you are in a women's only part of the facility where women are supposed to feel comfortable doing things like, I don't know, undressing, bathing, changing their tampon, you know, checking their bodies, doing whatever it is that they need to do in private, away from the prying eyes of men. Yeah, no, I think it is her business. And with that, obviously, she was like, oh, okay, so that means the answer is yes. Because no woman on the planet is going to be like, oh, well, again, she already clocked this man. She was just looking for a way to just let's get it in. Let's get into this and see if he's going to leave or not. He stood his ground. Come to find out, this adult man, cross-dressing, a fetishistic cross-dresser, wearing women's bathing suit, watching little girls undress, was an employee of the YMCA. He's an employee. And she literally said, you need to leave. You need to get out of here. And he, of course, dug his heels in and said, I will do nothing of the sort. So she went and sought another, hopefully sane employee, and asked for assistance. Rather than deal with the woman's concerns, very legitimate concerns, and, you know, say, well, let's talk to a supervisor and see, you know, what should happen here. The woman basically caped for this man in the good fashion that, for, I'm sorry, whatever reason that we as women are prone to this, whatever makes us prone to want to defend this stuff, because the fact is, we really are the ones. We're the ones caping for this. We're the ones protecting this. We're the ones supporting this. We're the ones who, oh, you know, let's take them in. Oh, they're one of us. You know, men weren't the ones out there marching for this. They were like, yeah, they're weird. Ew. And we were like, you know, they're not. They're just different. You're just toxically masculine. The women come in all different shapes and sizes. So this woman is like, oh, you're a bigot. You know, you need to watch what you say. You know, blah, 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 blah. And they told her and said, and in fact, not only are you a bigot, but you are harassing us and you need to leave or else I'm going to call the police. Now, there have been conflicting reports. I don't think she denies this. People said that she got loud and she got pretty confrontational, but as she should. I've read so many, so many different things that chided her for, oh, she harassed him, she attacked him. Why do we expect women to always be polite and sweet? Do you know that's such a dangerous characteristic, and that is sort of a flaw of female socialization? And I taught my girls this, and I taught my sons this, and I instill it in them, and I tell them point blank, you have no responsibility to be polite to a creep. You have no responsibility to be polite to creeps. None. And in fact, on the contrary, you have a responsibility to not be polite to creeps, to get away from them. Don't smile. Don't engage. Get help. Tell them to get out of here or get loud. You do not have a responsibility to be polite to creeps. And this whole idea, I mean, just it's really maddening to just watch a lot of the discourse around this. Again, here are the things that she's been attacked for and highlighted for being an old woman, not just a woman, but an old woman. Because anybody who has lived in America or the West in general for the last 100 years knows that some of the most vilified people in our society are old women. If you look at old Disney movies, who is always the nemesis? A jealous, crafty, mean, witchy old woman who hates on the younger woman for her beauty and wants to destroy her life. And of course, it's the Prince Charming who saves the young woman from this hateful, angry old woman who just wants to meddle with everything and is bitter and gnarled. We have been taught for a long time, rather than to revere our grandmothers, rather than to revere the wisdom, the experience, the knowledge, the fortitude, the strength to survive into our elderly years. No, we've been taught from an early age that they're petty, that they're useless, that they're nasty, that they're a burden, that they're uncouth, without value. So it's been highlighted over and over again in the reporting of this story that it is an old woman who went through this, and that she got loud. She wasn't polite and sweet. She didn't just quietly go up like, hi, can I talk to the manager? Hi, I hate to do this, and I really do. And tell me if I'm in the wrong here. I just noticed that I do believe that there is a man. Now, I may be a transgender, and I don't know a whole lot about these things. I'm of a different generation. But is that acceptable here? That's what they wanted her to do. They wanted her to like mouse up and be like, oh, hi, squeak, squeak. Could he leave? Oh, no. Okay. No. My fault. Sorry. I won't bother you again. Because God forbid a woman is actually direct, that actually isn't afraid, that isn't asking like permission to exist, that isn't asking permission to experience and to feel the way that she's feeling, but who just does and takes ownership of it. I am really, 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 really proud and just in awe of how this woman has gone on to handle this situation. You know, shout out to American Turban who have been rallying behind her. I know that Gabrielle Clark, the one who came to Philly Speaker Corner, who I said was like awesome and who I talked to for a long time, she's amazing. She flew out to be a part of like the Speaker's Corner / YMCA rally in support of Julie Jaman when she, I guess, was doing some sort of like a press conference or something. And Gabrielle Clark was out there. You have Amy Souza, who's broadcasting everything, who has had Julie on her channel. Take a look at that. I mean, just the coordination. You know, American Turban is like really stepping up their game in terms of just like coordinating across the country. And then I'm sitting there listening to a news story, and they were like discussing it. It was, I think it was like Newsmax, or no, I don't know what it was. It wasn't Newsmax. or no, it was Newsmax that was talking about the story, and they were like, yeah. And then there was a another publication that released footage on their Twitter account, and then had their Twitter account blocked, and it was Redux Mag. Redux Mag, shout out to them. Okay, Anna Slats and Genevieve, like, you guys, so many of these names that are interconnected and woven into this community are popping up like all over, and there's a lot of outlets who have been taking this story up, and I'm seeing all of your guys' names being mentioned, being acknowledged, being seen, and I see your faces, I hear your voices, and a lot of these clips, like, I'm like, oh my god, it's like, oh shit, it's the whole crew is here. We got the whole crew. I love that. It's not just like, oh, random people. It's like you guys are showing up, and it's so important. I love it. So let's I'm gonna do this stream in 2 parts. So first, we're just gonna talk about the story, what happened, and then we're gonna go, and I'm gonna break for a minute. We're gonna go and we're gonna look at the town hall clips of Julie talking. We're going to look at some clips from the rallies, and of course our favorite protesters, the Trans Privilege Brigade, who again is just showing who they really are. Little by little, people are peaking. Every time something like this happens, and we see, and like the Young Turks, I was watching their coverage of the story. We're going to take a look at that specifically because it was so vile, the way that they spun it and was like gaslighting, Julie's side of the story, and like the name calling. It's so gross. It's so gross how people are like treating her in their coverage of the story. But we're calling them out, and stop supporting any of these people. I listen for like the liberals in here, and I know that I have like a decent amount of liberal followers. You got to stop supporting like some of these liberal outlets who are like treating people like garbage. The Young Turks suck, okay? Like, that guy is such a douche. The main guy, am I wrong? He's such a cornball. And the girl, like, both of them are really like, don't come off as very intelligent, and I was really disgusted by their treatment of the story. So anyway, let's take a look. Hey Christina, let me check to see who's in the chat. Hey Abel. Is there somebody? Young Turks suck. Do I need a moderator in here, or are we good? God, I'm like hot. Do we need a moderator? Hold on for 1 second. Sorry guys. Let me just check on here real quick. Let me check on the chat. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, TPS, I'm gonna put you on if you don't mind. Damn, what's wrong with my internet? Hold on. Oh, here we go. Okay. I don't know why okay. Whoops, sorry. I did not. Okay. Shoot. Ryan Pennington, I just deleted your comment and I didn't mean to do that. Okay. All right, TPS. Thank you so much. All right, you're a mod. Sweet. Okay. So, just real quick, moderation. It's okay if we have people who come and like disagree and like challenge some stuff, especially if it's like people on the trans side and whatever, if they're asking questions. Try to like use your best judgment between like if they're really being like an agitator, or if they're like supportive of the trans thing but they're like hesitant to just like jump on board with what we're talking about, like asking questions, you know what I mean? Like, you just use your best judgment if they're here in good faith, and just approve comments and stuff like that. You can just do show comment. Obviously, like any like really disrespectful comments or like doxing comments and stuff like that. Just hide. And, block people who seem like they need to be blocked. But yeah. Okay. Hey, doe eyes. I know, I'm glad to be back. I missed you guys. I was outside so much this week. I'll do a catch-up stream. I just wanted to jump in with an actual content stream. Just because I haven't been here, but alright, so let's, I'm going to just, again, so this part of this stream, I'm going to break it up into at least 2 parts, maybe 3, probably 2. We're going to take a look at the story itself, and then we're going to go through some of the footage and, the media around what's been going on. Okay. XX Flock says, first time catching a stream, but I love your videos. Well, thank you. I'm very glad to have you. I'm glad you can make it. I kind of stream at a little bit random times, so I feel like it's always a crapshoot if people can make it. I don't have a very good schedule down, so just sort of pop up and surprise everybody. All right, so it's, hold on. Let me make this a little bit smaller. Little bit. Okay. Sorry. Alright. Alright, so let me... Sorry guys, you can tell I'm a little rusty right now. All right, Port Towns. Okay, so here is, all right, so woman 80 banned from the YMCA pool after clash with trans woman. Read it, trans identifying male, okay? Trans women, that's not a thing. That doesn't exist. There's a variety of reasons as to why various men would like to assume the identity of a female or wish that they were a woman for whatever reason, or maybe ones who don't actually wish that they were women, but who are interested in certain things that they identify with being a woman and want to be able to do those things, or feel those things, or see some sort of benefit in having other people regard them as a woman. Or regard them as trans, maybe because of the special privilege that clearly gets people. There's a variety of reasons that men would want to take this position. And not even the majority of them are because they genuinely have gender dysphoria or they genuinely, wish that they were a woman. There are certain privileges that they see within that. There are certain things that excite them, that they want to engage with openly. And again, it's the slippery slope of, and it's not a fallacy, that it gets to the point where we can't call out creepy behavior. 10 years ago, this was called voyeurism. And guess what? It was a criminal act. It was illegal. This man would have been certainly not allowed to continue with his employment at YMCA, let alone have it condoned. But they would have called the police and they would have been, booked on charges, or at a minimum given a citation, but frankly booked on charges. And now they've gotten so bold because they know that they have so much institutional capture that they can sit there and say, no, I'm not going anywhere. Screw you. In fact, not only am I not going anywhere, but you're getting out of here. You're now banned by, but you know what? I hate to say it. The pushback is coming and it's going to come hard. And my only fear is that we're going to overswing again. It just seems like we keep overcorrecting. Okay? This was a huge mistake, this whole trans thing, ever accepting it, ever having it be a thing. Let's be careful not to overcorrect. Let's just fix what we did wrong and get back to where we were. Because this is a mess. All right, so woman 80 banned from the YMCA pool after clash with a trans-identified male in a locker room. So this is Julie Jaman. Again, and it's the way that they're it's so sick. Yo, I wish this were some of the realest shit I will ever say on this channel. I wish this would happen to my grandmother. I wish a motherfucker would. I wish this would happen. Yo, let this sort of shit happen to my mom? You guys. And that's the thing. A lot of people are going to look at this woman and see their grandmother in her. They're going to look at this woman and see their great aunt, their mother, their neighbor, their elderly neighbor, their elderly teacher. They're going to see somebody that they love in this woman. They're going to be like, oh, hell to the fuck no. I'm tired of this shit. Most of the people who came into this did not come with just the spirit of an activist. They're like, oh, I'm an activist and I want to pick up a cause. Women like her, most of us, are not interested in activism in general. This is turning people into activists, are realizing that this is serious and this is now and we need to act and we need to act quickly. All right. Woman 80 banned from the YMCA pool after clash with trans woman in locker room. And for anyone who doesn't know, the YMCA stands for the Young Men's Christian Association. It used to be a male-only Christian organization. It's obviously now secular. It no longer is an acronym. It's literally just the name is now just YMCA. It's no longer the Young Men's Christian Association. It's secular and now it's integrated, meaning it's male and female. And, all of these spaces that we used to not even be allowed, and I guess there was like a YWCA at one point, but, it was super underfunded and had really poor facilities, and there's such like a low interest in, providing sporting facilities for women. So we went from not even being allowed in these spaces to finally winning the right to be in these spaces. And now we are in an insidious roundabout way being pushed out again. Because make no mistake, okay? Not everybody has the fortitude of Julie to stand up and say, you got me fucked up. There's been times in my life, and especially when I was either pregnant or I had like breastfeeding babies. I used to always wear I used to baby wear. I had slings, I had Mai Tais. I used to have be able to do a whole bunch of wrapping techniques, and I always wore my babies on my front if they were breastfeeding or on my back. I have avoided confrontations when I had my babies with me because God forbid, you never really know with people who's going to get physical, who's going to get loud, and I will not put my child in a situation like that. So there's times when I had to sit there and stay quiet on really, really messed up things. Or there's times when people I especially have in New York City. I remember because we used to live in Jersey City when my kids were little, and I've had people kind of get a little aggressive towards me where normally I'd be all right, bro, huh? Where I had to be oh, I'm sorry, okay, excuse me, you know what I mean? And just not bite my tongue. And there's a lot of people who can't stand up to this or don't know how to stand up to this or socially afraid of the fallout. What's going to happen is women are going to stay home. They're going to stay home. Here's an example, and I talked about this before. When I was going through cancer, and as I talked about, I had a colorectal cancer. I was literally almost shitting my pants, and literally was at some point. I was basically incontinent while I was healing. There's times when I literally had to go to the bathroom, and it was fucking embarrassing. If I knew that there were going to be men in and out of there, and I was going to be dealing with all of this stuff with my cancer, and or when I was going through radiation, so I used to have to go in the bathroom a lot to put cream on my radiation burns, and it was all over my ass and my vagina and stuff and my vulva. I would have to put cream on, otherwise I would be in such pain. I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand, I couldn't walk. I had to use this silver cream. I wouldn't feel comfortable running in and doing that, knowing if I had like men in there, knowing how vulnerable I'd feel and just how like embarrassing and how weird. I would have just stayed home. Women with little children, with little girls, with little boys, with babies, pregnant women, elderly women, disabled women, small women, traumatized women, women who have survived things are going to stay home if they don't have a safe space that is allotted for them to take care of our unique bodies that place us at a unique risk. Women are going to effectively be pushed out of these spaces that we fought to get access to. We just, it's like Title IX. We've only had Title IX for 50 years and they're already handing it back over to men. So you have one of two options. You can play and risk some major neck, oh no, am I paused? Shit. Is this working, guys? Because I just noticed my screen is like frozen. Hold on. Okay, no, it's working, right? Oh, TPS, if you're still in here, TPS, can you just make sure to show any of the, oh, hey, Lisa. Okay, good, it is working. Sorry. That just bugged me out because on my screen, it's like frozen, so it's not updating the chat on my screen. Whatever. What was I talking about? I don't know. Let's just read this. Anyway, here's Julie. Okay. Woman 80 banned from the YMCA after clash with trans-identified male in a locker room. This is, okay. Port Townsend, Washington. A YMCA pool in Washington State has been temporarily closed in the wake of controversy after a woman who uses the pool questioned the presence of a male in the facility's locker room. Julie Jaman, 80. Hold on, I'm just going to make mine really small. Julie Jaman, 80, told KOMO on Thursday that she observed the man after a swim at Mountain View Pool in Port Townsend at the end of July. Quote, I saw little girls with a man watching, Jaman said. There was no doubt in my mind that was inappropriate and not acceptable, and I needed to stop right then and there. There is a reason why, like, okay, anyone in here who's a parent and who's any women who are like married to men or vice versa, or who have children with a man, or partnered with a man, or ever co-parented with a man, when you have little children and they need to go to the bathroom, who typically chooses to take them? I know for me growing up and most of my friends, the mother will take the children to the bathroom. Why? Because there's always that uneasy feeling of letting your husband or their father take them into the men's room. Men know it, men feel it, men experience it, women experience it. Anybody who cares about a child feels that slight uneasy feeling of letting children go into the men's room. As a mother, even when my boys were getting older and could easily help themselves in the bathroom, I still would bring them with me into the women's room because I didn't feel comfortable letting them go in alone in the men's room. Whereas or I would tell, again, I would normally just be like, go into the women's room, but obviously you need to accompany them. There is an understanding. We have an awareness of the danger that's inherent to this. And they want you to believe that that is some sort of bigotry. We're going to hear the word discrimination a lot in the coverage of this event. Discrimination. And it's going to be in the context of the word discrimination being like a really foul, bad, wrong thing. And one thing I really want us to all start taking away the fact is that discrimination is not this horrible bad thing. In fact, discrimination is a really good and important thing. It is a mechanism that we have evolved to develop. It keeps us safe. It helps us understand the world around us. It helps us parse through people around us, make quick decisions about people. Discrimination is a really good thing. It is good that we discriminate, that we can say, you have these qualities, so it's okay if you're here. Normally, it's like the example that I would normally use would be like, it's the same way that we need to discriminate. Again, letting, creeps come into a children's room. We discriminate people coming into schools. My kid's school now has a policy after the recent tragic events where it's very locked down. You have to have a very good reason to come into the school during school hours and be pre-approved, and you have to call ahead and you have to be signed in and stuff. We discriminate who is permitted to come into the school, who's associated with the school and who's not. If you're not a parent of the school, or you're not like a contractor who's being brought in to fix something, we discriminate and say, no, you're not allowed in this space. I discriminate with my house every day. No, my door is not open. No, you can't come inside unless you're Cheryl or one of the kids. Hell yeah, I'm going to discriminate. I discriminate. This house is for us unless I give you specific permission to come and be here. And if I see my kids walking home and there's just a man who's tagging along and he tries to come through, I'm going to let the kids come through and I'm going to say, but hold on, stop. Who are you? You need to get off my property. You all discriminate. We all discriminate. Okay, when you're driving, your car is not just an open free-for-all. People don't just walk into your car and be like, oh yeah, come on in. It is important that we can identify characteristics. If you see someone who makes you feel uncomfortable, who just something about them, and I don't care if they have every quality that you're told that you're never allowed to, whatever it is, discriminate. If you see someone who's got, even like my boyfriend, I know that like when some people see him, they're like freaked out and they're not gonna whatever. And that's normal and that's fine and that's good and they should do that. They should feel that. Perhaps that means that you have a normal, healthy working, because the fact of the matter, he looks like he's MS-13. He looks like a gang member. You should. You don't need to like override that. That's normal and that's good. The difference of when it's bad is when you don't allow new information about that person to augment your original judgment. When you like cling to an original judgment in the face of new overriding information that tells you that your judgment was wrong or flawed. That's when it's like a problem. But no, discrimination is a good thing. Alright, so it says, officials said they closed the pool because of staffing issues. I wonder what that means. I wonder what's going on with it. Staffing issues. I wonder if people are protesting within the YMCA. I'll bet you anything, because they're saying they closed it because of staffing issues. I'll bet you anything that some people are like, this is bullshit and I don't want to work in this environment. I'll bet you anything. And they're not going to go to the media with that. They're going to keep that sort of stuff like very hush. And they're going to like warn people like, you're not allowed to talk about this sort of stuff or whatever. We won't give you a reference, like da-da-da-da. Doe says, we're asking women to lower their defenses when they should be on high alert. Women have to be able to discriminate. We have to. I remember when I went through my like super liberal woke phase, like in college and stuff like that. And I remember just being like on the bus and there would be like some guy that really creeped me out. But I was like, no, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe, I've been just programmed to see this guy as a bad guy and, he's not. And, even like homeless people and stuff like that, it's okay to just be like weirded out and be like, yeah, no thanks. So, sorry, it is what it is. Like I said, I've walked with my boyfriend and I've seen people cross the street. Like, and I've like been like behind him and like I wasn't walking with him. That's okay. That's normal. That's fine. Like, whatever your internal sense is, go with it. Be impolite if you must. I tell my children all the time, you don't have to be nice to every adult. You really don't. You really don't. When it comes to like your teachers who you know it's legitimate, but if someone's ever making you feel weird about something, you don't need to be obedient. You don't need to just obey blindly. Use your judgment. If someone is creepy or making you feel weird, you don't need to be polite. You can say, get away from me. I'll fix it. If you were wrong and you said, a mean thing, or you were, you did something, I'll fix it later. I'll explain. I'll be like, oh yeah, he's got a little, I'm just kidding. But like, it's okay. I'd really rather you hurt someone's feelings than override your internal alarm and put yourself in an unsafe situation. God, that is a great, important message for kids that is not nearly common enough. Yeah, I read that because when I first had kids, I went through this, like, I get, like, really hooked on things. Like, even this topic, like, it was funny because my friends from high school are like, the fact that you, like, latched on to this gender critical thing and went this far is, like, so not surprising. They're like, you get, like, when you get interested in a topic, you get, like, really latched onto it, and it's true. But, like, when I first had kids, I used to read, like, tons of parenting books. And that was one of the things that, like, I forget. I don't know if it was an essay that I read from, like, this really, like, this mom who was also, like, a doctor or something. But that's what she was saying. She was like, we don't want to teach children to just be obedient. We want them to understand why they should follow directions and that they should understand, the rules and follow logical rules. They should be cooperative with trusted adults. Not and even another thing, like here's an example. When your kids are little and you have like a friend or like an aunt or somebody who they don't really know that well, but like who and you love, and that you want them to care about that person. They're like, come give Aunt Lydia a hug, or like, oh, it's a good old Uncle Carl, and you're like, go give him a hug, hon. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, she's just, come on, what's the matter with you? Go ahead, give him, Johnny, go give your Uncle Carl a hug. You know what that's teaching kids? It's teaching kids that when they don't feel comfortable, they're not allowed to listen to that they're being rude, that they're wrong for feeling like weird about someone putting their hands on them. I've always told my kids, you don't want to give them a hug, like, who cares? Don't tell, you know what I mean? Just tell them like, no thanks, like, I'm good. You'll never see me. And it's funny because I know I've had like people in my family who've kind of like given me a side eye, like as if I should be like coaxing my child to go like, accept some hug or kiss or whatever from you. I'm like, I'm not. No, if they're weirded out, like, no offense, but like, fuck your feelings. Fuck your feelings. Like, you're an adult. You'll be all right. I'm like more worried that my child like feels that they are allowed to set boundaries around their body. I'm not going to like sit there and chide them for not allowing you to touch them. That's weird. I know you, like, even like my friends and stuff who like, knew my kids when they were little or whatever. And it's like, I know that like they know my kids from when they're little. My kids don't remember them. So I'm basically teaching them, you go ahead and let this stranger like hug on you and kiss on you and touch on you. And I'm going to sit there and watch, and we're all going to sit there and watch and make sure that you accept it and you smile and you say thank you and you say, oh, sure, love you too. I don't tell my kids that they got to say love you to anybody. I don't tell my kids that they got to let anyone touch them. That's weird. Let kids set boundaries. Now, at the same time, like if my kids are disrespectful, there's a difference. It's like, I'm like, you have a responsibility to cooperate with like trusted adults and trusted instructions, right? If your teacher is I get, you don't think it's fair, you don't like these rules, but if you know that they're healthy rules, you know that they're legitimate rules, and you know that they are a legitimate authority, then yeah, you need to follow that. You can't like abuse that to just go like, not listen to people and be rude. But teach kids to be able to like differentiate what is legitimate authority versus what somebody being like, oh, well, I'm an adult. You have to listen to me. You have to do what I say. I've had one or two adults, I remember even it happened in my childhood, but with my kids who like sort of abused that authority of like, oh, I'm the adult. You have to listen to me, to be like rude or like nasty towards my kids. And I told him, I'm like, you don't have to tolerate like an adult who's doing like weird or disrespectful things to you either. You come and tell me. TPS said, yeah, it upsets people when I say it, but that's on them. I have zero tolerance. My babies can defend themselves and I will, mom. Yeah. Like, if you feel weird because my kid doesn't want to hug you, then like, that's like a you problem, bro. Like, I don't, what do you want me to do about it? You want me to sit here and like yell at them and I don't give a fuck. Like, I've moved on. Like, no, I'm sorry. My children, I've known parents and I've seen it where they like will throw their kids' comfort or their child's sense of self under the bus to like appease and to like be like chummy with like friends and other adults and stuff, and like will like sit there and like poke at the kid. And I've watched these like dynamics before where I almost want to like almost intervene, but I don't. But I'm like, yo, stop, what are you doing? Like he's saying no, he doesn't feel comfortable with this, and you're like, and then also when like the mom will then be, oh, I'm so sorry, he's just being I just be like, yeah, they're not like, they just don't feel comfortable right now. I don't know what to tell you. That I'm not going to explain it more than that. Like, it's really not a big deal. All right. Officials said they closed the pool because of staffing issues. Again, I wonder if people were protesting. If I worked at the Y, I'd be like, all you guys have me fucked up. Like, I'm not cool with this either. And if that's how you're going to treat, like, people in our community, then, like, let's see. Jaman said she had finished her swim and was taking a shower in the locker room when she heard a voice that she said did not belong in that setting. Again, she clocked him before she even saw him. That's heavy. That just shows just how sexually dimorphic we actually are as a species. We have a very refined ability to identify and distinguish the difference between men and women. Again, a lot of it's subconscious. We don't even realize it. We have a very refined ability. It's the same thing. If you ever look at like certain animals and you're like, oh, which one's like the male, which one's the female? They know. Those animals sure as shit know. I'm like, all the turtles look the same. And the turtle's like, no, but you can tell which one is, they know. Within your own species, you have a much more refined sense of that sort of stuff. Let's see. I saw a man, Jaman says, I saw a man in a woman's bathing suit. Again, of course he's got to wear the, like, again, we have to sit there and tolerate him, like, engaging with his fetish. Everyone has grown up knowing that cross-dressers exist. And it was this sort of, like, bizarre thing that everyone kind of knew, but it wasn't like we all celebrated. But it was just like, let's just keep them in their own. If that's what they want to do, just, they have little, like, clubs and bars and areas that they could go. But now it's like we just have to sit there and allow them to engage in their fetish, and not only allow them to engage, but we're forced to engage in it with them, because by us calling these men she, her, or calling them a woman is engaging them, is participating in their fetish with them. No, I'm not interested. No, I don't consent. My child's not going to engage in your fetish with you. My child is not a prop. My child, again, and so much of this about them wanting to be in the women's locker room is not that they feel safe in the men's room. Let me be so abundantly clear. The purpose of wanting to be in the women's locker room and call women all this stuff is to validate their identity. Is to make them feel like, wow, this is really real. I'm passing. This is, I'm making people, it's to validate. I am not your fucking support animal. I am not a support animal. I am not a comfort blanket. I'm not a teddy bear. I'm not a prop. I'm a human being. My existence is not to, by relational, make you feel more like a woman, because now you're allowed into a space that we're allowed into, and now because you see us here and you see us using it, you feel like you're one of the girls. I don't consent to that. I'm good. My children don't consent to you engaging in your fetish. I don't consent to my children being a prop in your like story, your fantasy, whatever it is that you want to live out, whatever storyline that you wish you were living. Leave us the hell out of it. Because I don't want to be involved in any of that. I'm all the way good. My kids are all the way good. I'm not here to affirm you. Exactly. TPS says we're not affirmation objects. Peach says, I saw one today at the gas station. Yeah, because again, we're going to start seeing it's getting normalized to the point where any man who had any like, even a man who's like, ooh, I just want to see what it's like. Let me just see, where it's exciting and it's, again, no one's allowed to question it. No one's allowed to say anything. And if no one's allowed to question it or saying anything, then why would the men who actually have more deviant reasons to do it, and make no mistake, I do feel like the vast majority of them have deviant reasons. I know like a few who are cool people and who like literally are just for whatever reason like that's how they want to like present, but they know the deal. What was I saying? I don't remember. Yeah, gender is an aesthetic. They look ridiculous. Everyone was laughing as they passed. That's the thing. Oh my God. I've got it. I'm going to do like, there's this video of this one guy who looks so ridiculous. And again, we all just sit there like, oh yes, girl. Yes, sis. And it's like, you can't listen. And that's the whole like, oh, don't discriminate thing. People say there is this like, I feel like in society, we believe that so much of our reactions to things are all part of social programming, right? Cultural programming. There's this idea that like, oh, if you feel a certain way about somebody, that's because of how you were programmed. That's not necessarily true. When you get that sense to like, you're like trying not to laugh and like clown some guy who's wearing clothing that wasn't made for his body, no one taught you to feel that way. That's not necessarily a cultural thing. That's an innate understanding that this doesn't match. This doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that a man with an andromorphic pelvis is wearing, clothing made for women. It doesn't make sense that a man who has broad shoulders and is wearing like a little tank top, or that a man with no breasts is wearing a bra. It just doesn't make sense. It looks silly. It looks clowny. Because again, clowny, funny stuff is when it's like these unexpected, like, nonsensical things that come together and it's goofy. That's not social programming. That's an innate understanding that doesn't make sense. This is goofy. It's okay to feel that way. That's why, like, telling people that they're not allowed to laugh, we all have to keep like a poker straight face and smile and just be nice and da-da-da-da. We're doing a disservice to everybody. We're doing a disservice to the mentally ill person who actually believes like, wow, this could be real. I'm passing. Everyone tells me I look great. I hate to say it, and I've said this before, making fun of people and even like commenting things has a social function. It has a social function. Yes, extreme bullying is bad. Bullying to the point where a kid who has certain qualities about themselves that they just can't help, that they're a little quirky, or they have, some sort of deformity or a birth defect or a condition or just strange something that they really can't change about themselves, or, somebody even for their sexuality, and when kids are just torturing that person, that's the bullying that we needed to address. Because that doesn't have a social function. Because that person can't change that about themselves. And now you're just shaming somebody for who they are. Right? And when it's so much that the kid can't focus on school, that the kid can't integrate properly. But part of what the social function of like making fun of people is to point out you're engaging in pretty absurd behavior. And some people can't necessarily recognize about themselves until it gets pointed out in them. And traditionally speaking, again, being pushed out of the in-group prior to like modern civilization was like a death sentence. Because again, if you think about even back in like, our early towns and stuff like that, when you think about like the feudal system and, you had a space of land that was like a town that all the people lived in, right? And it was usually like, bordered by a wall or something like that, or just some sort of like, designated area. And beyond that was thick woods and like wildlife, right? To be socially excluded, socially to not fit in it's a dangerous thing. It's like a death sentence. We need to cooperate to survive. Less so now, we don't have quite as much of a need, but still quite a need, but not, before it was really bad. So the point of socially sort of making fun of somebody was like, rather than aggressively being like, oh, you look messed up, what's wrong with you? It's sort of finding a way to make light of the situation, but also point out, hey, you're engaging in bizarre behavior that's sort of counter to the cultures, the values, the needs of the group. That by doing this, it doesn't fit with what we need as a group. And again, at the end of the day, if everybody was so hyper individualistic and just doing what they want, when they want it, how they wanted it, going off in these weird fantasies and stuff, we couldn't get anything done. We have to be able to cooperate. We have to be able to collaborate. So making fun of somebody was a way of helping them identify, and hoping that they'll correct their behavior. And I learned this in psychology a long time ago. It was like, the group will start with making fun of them, right? We'll start with like teasing them a little bit, laughing about it, sort of making jokes about it. And that's their way of like making them aware that there's a weird behavior that they're engaging in. Then it'll escalate to being like more confrontational, being like, hey, what are you doing? You're doing all this weird stuff, whatever. Why are you wearing like the women's clothes and going into their area? You got to stop with that. It's not, you're upsetting people. It doesn't make sense. The clothes aren't made for your body. We get that you might have some sort of like sexual enjoyment with that, and that's fine. You got to do that on your own time. You can't just be going out in public and engaging with this. You got to stop. And the final step, if the person still wouldn't modify their behavior, still wouldn't come back in alignment with like the group sort of like norms and the group's agreed upon value systems and all that, was that they would have to push them out of the group. Which again, that was like a death sentence back in the day. Laughing about stuff is it helps diffuse the bite that comes of like pointing out something like weird about somebody, again. So it's, again, when we try to overcorrect the whole zero tolerance and bullying, zero tolerance, like there's a difference between bullying and like making fun of like goofy stuff. It's okay to make fun of like, acknowledge like women. I feel like women really have a right to make fun of creepy men. That's always been our way to sort of deal with, and even point out to men, like, no, ew, get away from me. Like, when women have to sit there and be polite to creepy men, it just sends a message that we're somehow, like, inviting them in some way. Making fun of creepy men has always been a methodology for women to collectively basically shut men down in a way that's not very confrontational. That's like, that can diffuse it a little bit so that we are lowering our risk of having like a really adverse reaction from them, but we're just basically saying like, yeah, no thanks. Like, you know what I mean? And we're not even allowed to make fun of these men anymore. We're not allowed to say, we have to sit there and like pretend like it's a real and legitimate thing. In fact, it's our duty. Shame the yes, it is. It is. It's our duty to shame. Yo, it's not a bad thing. Honestly, we're helping them in some way too, because they're gonna be like, oh wow, you know what? Like, all right, I gotta get off Pornhub. I need to make some changes in my life. I'm tired of being clowned by women. I'm tired of being clowned. I gotta get off Pornhub. I gotta stop jerking off so much. I need to like, I gotta make some changes. Gotta start like contributing to society. You know, get myself together. Try to evaluate what's going on with me. Like, yeah, no, it's good. Clown them. My God. Hey, Matt. Oh, hey. All right, you guys, I'm like starting to get a migraine. I'm going to pause the stream for 5 seconds because I need to get my migraine medication because it like stops it from like developing into a migraine, and I need to take it now or else I'll have a migraine and I'll feel very sick. I'll be right back. 2 minutes. I swear, I know exactly where it is. 2 minutes. Okay, hey. Oh, God, I'm sorry. I hope that works. I have get really bad migraines. All right, let's finish the story, and then I'm going to start the stream over, and we'll go through some of the footage and stuff like that. So, I'm going off onto so many tangents. All right. So, officials said they closed the pool because of staffing issues, and because of disturbing and harassing phone calls the YMCA began receiving as details about the incident began to spread around town. Disturbing and harassing. What do you mean? People expressing the concern and anger? I mean, it's totally legitimate. Let's see. All right, so I heard a man's voice, very distinctive again. She clocked him from the minute she heard him. Jaman said, I saw a man in a woman's bathing suit where 2 toilets were, and there were 2 little girls standing there taking down their suits to use the toilet. I looked at him and I said, do you have a penis? Good for her. And he said, it's none of your business. Yeah, the hell it is her business. Especially if you're in this space. The whole point of us having a men's room and a women's room is because of our biological differences. That's the reason why. That was always the reason why. I don't know why that seems like it's so confusing now. And he said, it's none of your business. And then I said, you need to leave now. The YMCA, which operates the pool, immediately asked Jaman to leave, and she has been prohibited from using the pool after workers said that she violated the YMCA's code of conduct with disrespectful behavior. I'm sure it's a bunch of these wokey 22, 23-year-olds that they had working there. Jaman returned to the site a few days later and stood outside the pool for 2 days while holding a sign that said, good for her. All right, I love this woman because a lot of people would be are just have a lot going on in their lives. They're tired. They're not trying to take this up as some big fight. They'll just kind of quietly be like, that's bullshit, or complain about it behind closed doors. But I mean, she took this on. I mean, she has really been taking this on. So she returned to the site a few days later and stood outside the pool for 2 days while holding a sign that said, quote, men who identify as women are using the women's shower and dressing room. Good for you. Oh, and by the way, when you guys are done with this stream, you guys should go log on. I took it upon myself, and I'm the only person who did it, and I was actually really surprised. Go leave these people. Oh, look, who is this person? Oh, human female. I wonder who that is. They wrote a really based review. The Olympic Peninsula YMCA, Jefferson County branch. Let's peruse what this person had to say. They gave it 1 star. Why were they upset, human female? She said, this facility allowed a male employee to enter the women's locker room inside where he proceeded to watch little girls using the restroom. An 80-year-old woman who was showering after using the pool was startled to hear a man's voice in the locker room, and when she came out of the shower, she witnessed this man watching little girls. This is me, if that's not how it is. She approached the man who was in fact an actual employee of the YMCA and asked him why he was in the women's facility and questioned why he, a man, was watching little girls use the locker room. We should just call it what it is. Let's stop using the euphemism. Say, oh, a trans woman. No, it's a male. A male. They agree with that. If you don't want to use the language that, they don't agree with, they agree that they're males. They're biological males. They're males, but their gender identity is a woman. See, sex and gender are two different things, right? So it's legit, even according to their woke ideology, to call them a male. And call it voyeurism. Don't just say, a trans woman using the facilities. Call it everything that it is. Use the language that is descriptive and accurate. So she approached the man who was an actual employee of the YMCA and asked him why he was in the women's facility and questioned why he, a man, was watching little girls use the locker room. He proceeded to gaslight her and proclaim that he himself is a woman and that she needs to mind her own business. This woman, who is a private citizen, a local resident, and a human being, refused to leave it alone and decided to stand up to this predatory behavior and demanded that he leave this vulnerable, women's-only section of the YMCA so that the other women and girls could be safe from prying eyes. He refused, complained against her, and rather than calling the police and having the man brought in on charges of sexual deviancy and voyeurism, the YMCA instead banned the woman from using the facility and affirmed this man's right to invade the private changing quarters of young female children and women. The CEO of YMCA doubled down in a press conference and said that they would not tolerate women or girls expressing discomfort over their policy to allow males to get sexual gratification from watching them undress. We are living in a horror movie, and this YMCA is complicit in the sexual harassment of all of its female guests. Withdraw support for the predatory location immediately. Women and girls are human beings, and they deserve to be safe. No woman or girl should be forced to tolerate a peeping Tom. Shame on the YMCA. So, again, a lot of you talk about wanting to, do your part, and some of you have jobs, or some of you have reasons why, you can't participate or go to, protests, or maybe you just can't, or whatever. I'm always trying to make you guys aware of little things that you can do to participate in this fight that are not necessarily starting a YouTube channel or whatever. One way that you can support is anytime you hear about a story like this, go leave a review. Let businesses know that if they pander to this nonsense at the detriment of women and girls, that there will be consequences. Let them know. Again, and don't behave in the way that they do. Don't sit there and use profanity. Don't act like real deranged. Just be firm, be clear, say this behavior is repugnant. I don't know what you were thinking. We stand with, this woman, Julie. She is owed an apology. You need to overturn this, unjust decision immediately. So, when the stream's over, anybody who wants to, again, it's the Olympic Peninsula YMCA Jefferson County branch. It's 1925 Blaine Street, Port Townsend, Washington. Again, we've got to make sure that we don't ever stoop to the level of abuse that the trans privilege activists like to do towards us. Keep it legit. Let them know that you're watching, that you're not okay with it, and let other people know. I mean, God, not everybody is tuned into this stuff. Let other residents know. Say, hey, this is what you can expect. Let's see. Mandy says mesh. Oh, yeah, mech. I was thinking about you like a couple days ago. I was like, God, I probably sound so ignorant that I call her mech when it's like, I guess the pronunciation really should be mesh. I love that you're so like, you're like, You like don't check me on it. You're not like, God, stop being an idiot. You just respond. I love you. Mandy says, Neck, it's pathetic, isn't it? When people say, quote, listen to trans people, I keep thinking they have some insight I don't have. But no, all they have are flimsy stereotypes and feelings. Yeah, we still have yet to, uncover what this definition of a woman is. I mean, they literally can't come up with anything coherent at all. Lisa Fenwick says, like, I would never stare at a little girls in a locker room. Even if I had some legitimate reason for observing, I would feel really weird. But yeah, I make like a point to like, God, anytime I know that, like, and I don't, again, and it says something about their willingness and ability to just impose on people who they know are uncomfortable. Like, there's been times when, like, I know me being there kind of makes everyone feel awkward. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go then. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, maybe I have a right to be there, whatever. But, like, I don't need to sit here and, make somebody just feel uncomfortable or nervous or whatever. Like, let's get out of here. They attacked, Peach says, they violently attacked old women. Oh, my God. Some of the video, we're going to go through the video. It's disgusting. It's really disgusting. Rudy Gator says, other cultures still have a shame-based society. That's why AGPs aren't public outside of the West. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that it doesn't have to be, like, shame per se, but just we don't need to celebrate. Like, just an honest, being like, this is inappropriate. And again, when a society doesn't have core agreed upon values. What are our core agreed upon values in America? Because I can only speak for America, right? It's that, murder is not okay. That rape is heinous. There was a time in our country where rape was not seen as the heinous crime that it was. It was just seen as like a fact of life. Feminists worked very hard to have rape recognized in the legal code and just culturally as a heinous act against women, a transgression that could change our lives forever. They could, take from us our ability to make massive life choices for ourselves, to have sovereignty over our body. It makes us feel like we aren't in control of our own bodies. Puts us in danger. I mean, and we had to fight for that recognition. And, one of our core values is that every woman is sovereign over her own body, her own sexuality. And that nobody has the right to come and invade that space. And now it's like, we're acting like that isn't really, like, we're going backwards on so many things. Again, there was a time where rape wasn't seen as that, marital rape wasn't seen as that serious. Now we're treating like the threat of rape is like no big deal again. And this is coming from the party that's of the so-called feminists. The Democrats, the liberals, they support feminism, right? But then they're devaluing, totally silencing, not only just ignoring, but trampling on, silencing women who express concerns about their own, sexual well-being and safety and their ability to make choices about their body and their freedom of association. It is unreal. I only addressed other people's kids to protect their kids or my kids, and the number of parents who hate help from another mom is shocking. Where's the village? Yeah, I don't talk directly to kids. I always thought that was weird. Like, people be like, oh, hey, like, get down. I like kind of wait till I know that the child is comfortable with me. I won't touch someone's child. I won't hug a child. In general, I just won't do it until I know that child knows me and is, like, initiated at first. Like, my one girlfriend who I always see, like, literally all the time, she has a little 7-year-old who's, like, this super bright, really charismatic, outgoing kid. And she always runs up now and gives me a hug. And so now I, like, will give her a hug back. Or I'm like, oh, hey, and I'll give her a hug now. But that's because she's initiated it so many times. I would never hug on a child that, like, hasn't initiated that. Because so many kids will, like, go along with things because, again, they've trained to be polite, that they're not really comfortable. Even Cheryl's kids, I was laughing with her about this. Cheryl's kids are like my kids pretty much, but they just don't really like to be touched. And her girls are older. mind you, they're like teenagers. And I used to always hug them, and I could tell that they were like that they would like kind of like unwillingly hug me back. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. Like, I'm not going to like impose myself onto people. And I kind of was like, yeah, my bad. I just figured they were older, you know, but especially little kids. I don't like touching little kids. That's not my place until they're comfortable with me. Like, I just, yeah. Anyway, we should fundraise for this lady. Oh, speaking of fundraising, we really need to. The TPAs, the trans privilege activists, they fundraised for this guy. They fundraised $15,000 for him to go get some surgeries. So they're showing up for theirs. We need to match that energy. Let's see. All right. So, Jaman says the Y really needs to provide an all-gender or some kind of other facility along with signage, she said. Oh, speaking of signage, I don't know. I was watching a whole bunch of video clips about this before I did this. But she said that when she spoke to the CEO of the Y, because she brought that up, she said, listen, if you're going to make this an all-gender facility where males and females all have to share spaces together, then you need to warn your patrons, notify the parents of these children, and provide appropriate signage that says this is now a mixed, sex desegregated space. And you know, he said, the fact that we have pride posters around should have been enough of a warning to let you know that this is like what we were going to be doing, that this was going to be our policy. Oh, you can't. So that's why, listen, when they say now that pride flag, like the diversity flag, the one that has like this one. Pride flag, this one. This now, he's basically confirming that this is now like a symbol. You can be sure that this is a symbol of like, you know, it's an anti-feminist symbol. It is like a pro-creep symbol. It's a an anti-women's rights symbol, anti-women's sovereignty symbol. This is an anti-feminist flag. Because he said, oh, well, this flag should have been enough to know that women weren't going to have rights to privacy. Women weren't going to have rights to safety. So there you go, guys. Now it's no longer just us saying it. Now they're confirming. Mex says, that reminds me of my first time at a gay club. They warned me that I need to use the men's room because of the lack of women means they usually let sex in the ladies' room. They usually have sex in the ladies' room. Oh. Yeah, at least, listen, there's this one gay club, Woody's in Philly, that like actually is like really fun. It's like my favorite place. I don't go out that much. And by that, not that much, I mean like once a year maybe. But that's like when I used to go out more. That was like my favorite place to go. And that's the same thing. It's like all the bathrooms are pretty much like mixed. And at least the signage is like everywhere, like saying like this is all gender, and they have like one or two like single stalls. But like that's you're going into, you expect that. And she's right. You can't just like spring that on people and expect that they're gonna. And to totally act like she's out of her mind for feeling the way that she does. It's so enraging. Excuse me. All right, so let's see, where were we? All right, so the episode has prompted a barrage of calls to the YMCA. Part of the reason it has been temporarily shuttered. Thank God you guys got it shut down. Hell yes. I kind of understand this. I kind of understand this anger that is leaking out the way that it is, Jaman said, and I am sorry that the staff at the Y is catching it. The controversy surfaced recently at the August 1st meeting at the Port Townsend City Council, which spent more than 30 minutes of public debate on the matter recently. Quote, this individual is not, oh God, quote, this individual is not a man identifying as a woman, said Rebecca Horst, a Port Townsend resident who spoke during the council meeting. This individual is a woman, and I think we need to have respect. and inclusivity, and we need to respect this person. Nothing was disrespected. Call it is disrespectful to engage with a delusion. That's disrespectful. Calling a man is not disrespect. What are you talking about? You sound nuts. Guys, just seeing women cape for this is so... I feel so ashamed. I feel so ashamed of women in general. It's so embarrassing that, like... And again, it is. It's always women who are doing this. Cheryl's home. I'm gonna try to get her to come on the stream with me because I don't have the kids this weekend, which like never happens. So I don't know her work schedule is, but I'll see if I can try to get her to come on a stream with me. And I don't know. I don't want what happened in my locker room that happened here. Oh, sorry. All right. Rose Marshall drove from Clallam County to express her opinion. I am a YMCA member there, she said. I don't want what happened in my locker room, what happened there. Quote, quite frankly, I find this... Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry. It's so, like, incoherent. Like, what are you trying to say? After this, I'm gonna switch the stream, and we're gonna go through some of the footage. Quite frankly, I find this type of bigotry horrible, and I'm not shocked, said Zachariah Parker. Zachariah, literally, bro, like, all due respect, dog, like, no one needs your input on this. As a man, no one gives a fuck what you think about whether or not your other bros should be allowed to go and spy on women. The fact that you're defending this tells me a little bit about you. Like, Zachariah, I don't ever want to hear a man's, like, name, input on this, because I don't give a fuck. Any man who supports this, like, fuck out of here. Because, like, any man who actually cares about women and who actually, like, take care of their responsibilities, I really just see, like, you know, woke virtue signaling and this liberal, like, leftist bullshit, like, virtue signaling is just a sign that, like, you don't take care of responsibilities in life. You like living in, like, a fantasy land, you know, so many poor character qualities that I just suddenly, like, assign to you. You want to talk about discrimination? Yeah, that's how I discriminate. That's my prejudice. I assume that you're all, like, flimsy clowns who are, like, don't want to work hard, don't want to take care of your responsibilities in general. You're, like, in an extended state of adolescence. Like, so, you know, talking about, like, discrimination and that's my assumption. And I'll bet you I'm not all that way off. Quite frankly, I find this kind of bigotry horrible. I'm not shocked, said Zachariah Parker, who also lives in Port Townsend. I'm here to stand up for trans people, defend their rights, and I'm here to encourage you all to listen to them and believe them when they tell you who they are. Bro, like, huh? Listen to them and believe them and they tell you who they are? What the fuck? Yeah. Like, y'all could sit here and tell me that, like, the sky is green, and I'm gonna be like, well, okay, Cocoa for Cuckoo Puffs, like, no, it's not. They want you to override your internal sense of reality. They want you to override everything. You very, like, just again, tangibility. This is such a deconstructivist agenda that I feel like is going to go so much deeper than we could possibly be prepared for. Only a very short time ago, there was an understanding that, yes, these are men, yes, you know, but they have gender dysphoria and they feel like women, so we're trying to support them and all that sort of stuff. And we believe that the best route is to, you know, allow them to express themselves as women just to keep them said. Now it's literally, they are a woman. You know, you literally have trans-identifying males saying, I am a biological woman. That's now the new argument. They're not like, The one of them said, oh, she does, like she said, look, what did she say? She said, this individual is not a man identifying as a woman. It's no longer identifying as a woman. This individual is a woman. I think we need to have respect and inclusivity. It's not inclusive when women are forced to stay home because they don't want to be involved. They don't have safe spaces anymore to take their children. I would never in a million years have my daughters, my preschool age, kindergarten age daughters undress if I knew that it was like a sex desegregated space. Never. To me, that's child abuse. Never. You want to talk about inclusive? He has a place to change. Why does he have to impose himself? All right, we're going to look at some of this footage when I come back. Let's see what y'all are saying. Vanessa. Hey, Vanessa. I think Vanessa V says, I think Catholic schools... Damn it, I missed. Hold on. Okay, Vanessa V says, I think Catholic schools need even more funding, to be honest. Maybe they can actually supply condoms to the teens then. Oh my God. This lady was handing out condoms and I was like, oh, can I have some? I was like, because I wanted to like look at the literature or whatever. And she had female condoms. And I was like, oh, can I? No, that's what it was. I saw this one lady holding it. I was like, what is that? She's like, it's a female condom. And I like asked the actress, can I have one? Because I've like never actually like seen one before. I've always like heard about them as this like fabled thing. I've never seen one. She's like, yeah, actually, apparently you need to have a prescription to get a female condom. Yo, I'll bring it on the stream. It's so weird. It's so weird. I don't know who. It's like, it's really weird. It's weird how it works. It like goes all the way up. I'll try to find it when I come to the next stream. Oh Lord. Let's see. Jamie Hopkins. Julie Jamon inspired me to go to my local YMCA and ask if trans identified males were allowed into the women's room. Surprise, surprise, they are. Oh my God. I really think that like this, and again, the YMCA, listen, I spend a lot of time at my YMCA. That's where my kids go to preschool, at the YMCA. I mean, that you can't. It's oh my God. It's so not. It's so upsetting. This is the YMCA has always been a community center that was supportive of families and that was supportive of like, you know, families who were, you know, financially struggling or, you know, didn't have a lot, and it gave, you know, healthy community and sports and activities for kids so that they could have healthy after school things to do. And that's what it needs to be. That's where the focus needs to be. You know, again, if you want to make these like, you know, additional spaces, we need to make additional spaces, because the fact of the matter is that it's not actually about protecting these people. It's about affirming their identity and using women to do so. It's a transgression. Spirit Matter says panic buttons in the locker room. Oh, God. Vanessa B said, I saw a turn at Value Village thrift store the other day. He was built like a linebacker and he was looking for jeans. Oh my God. Jean shorty shorts and perusing the pantyhose. I snuck pics at, oh my God. Oh my God. And we used to like be able to make fun of these people. We can't even do that anymore. Yeah, Judy C, that's what I was talking about. Rachel McKinnon was saying that he's a biological female. Ew. What's the new Daily Show host, that douchebag who took over from Jon Stewart, who was actually funny? Now you have this dork who's... My kids know that I hate the new Daily Show. What's the guy? He's the South African guy. Bro, I was in college when he took over from Jon Stewart. And I remember I was like, damn, because I really liked Jon Stewart. I thought he was funny. And I remember like watching, I was like, yo, this guy is not funny. I was like, this sucks. It's so funny because I still, like, he's worse now because now he's like totally into all like the wokey stuff. I hate his politics. I hate him. My sons know that I hate him and they like taunt me with him. They're like, oh, we're going to make you watch. What's that guy's name? What is his name? Gonna drive me crazy. That douchey Trevor Noah. Thank you. Who said that? Peach. Yeah, Trevor Noah. Yo. My kids are like, oh yeah, we're gonna make you watch Trevor Noah like as your punishment. I'm like, no. They know he's such a fucking douche. Sorry, people have complained about me chewing into the thing. We should go through that clip. I watched him interview Rachel McKinnon, which is this trans-identifying male bicyclist who was like, of course, winning all these like awards and stuff like that, of course. And what was really fucked up? If you really watch, we got to go through that footage. If you really watch Trevor Noah's face, you could tell there's a moment where he was like, I don't think, this is getting a little weird. Because I remember he had said something, Trevor Noah said something, he's like, yeah, it's not like you're saying you're actually a woman. And then Rachel thought he was like agreeing. He's like, yeah, no, exactly. I'm a biological woman. And it was weird because there was a moment where he actually like, Trevor was trying to like be like, yeah, but it's not that unreasonable because you don't actually da-da-da-da. And then Rachel went and said exactly what he was like, Trevor Noah was trying to like downplay, being like, oh, it's not like you guys think this. And then he proved that like that is exactly literally what they think. And when you watch Trevor Noah's face, he's like, he's like still trying to be like real supportive. I think that he's starting to like, I watched him peaking. I feel like we were watching him peak slightly. He's such a douche though. He's so not funny. Like he's such a cornball. His like, his impressions, he like tries way too hard when he does he always does the impression of Tucker Carlson. It's like, all right, bro, like we get it. Like it's like kind of good, I guess. You're like trying way too hard though. Like calm down. I can appreciate people whose like politics I don't necessarily agree with. Like again, Jon Stewart. I don't agree with everything that Jon Stewart thinks, but like I think Jon Stewart actually agrees that this shit is out of control. He was like the last generation of like the normal liberals until it just started like totally going into like the shitter. All right. Fanny Boy said, oh, I saw the interview. Trevor Noah with this Tim will make the pair two douchebags. Yeah. Oh, the Young Turks thing. Ryan says, what was the Young Turks? We're going to look at that next. So I'm going to turn off the stream just so that it's not like a super long video. And we're going to go look at the Young Turks thing and go through all the footage. I promise I will try to stay on task and I'm not going to just like rant. I'll be back. Tune in. I'm going to take a really quick break, but in like 5 minutes, we're going to do round 2 of this. Okay? All right. Tune back in. I'll see you on the flip side. Bye-bye.